Those things.
Oh, wait. No sound. Speak. I can hear you now, I think.
Yes,
Ah, yeah. How are you, Vince?
I'm good. Yeah,
Good.
yeah. You're the only person that's turned up today so far.
Yeah, so far.
How are things going for you? How's that doubt?
Well, it's interesting because I'm seeing my mind is going into a devotional state more and more. And there is something that is resisting it within. So I'm seeing this unfoldment, like this is a mystery, but it's a mystery that you can know. So it makes no sense in a way. So the only way is somehow I can see that it's worth speaking about it. It's in a devotional way, in a mystical way, you know. And and I see in me some kind of uh, a part of me doesn't want to go there. It's kind of afraid somehow, like that it's too much. But but that's really what's my experience. So
Mm.
I'm feeling like in between.
Mm.
It's interesting.
Can you identify the resistance to that? Are there stories about what problems if you do allow that?
I think I'm still identify as a sane person. I still believe that the person is not believe, but I see that there is this energy that want to be sane, to you know to not look mad, to um, not only to myself, to not be to, to stay in a normality, but also that's why that is very interesting. I don't want to disturb people too much. I can see this more and more, which is very strange in my position, but often like I'm okay, I don't really want to disturb the belief system of
Mm.
people around, whatever they believe, I'm like, okay, that's fine. That's okay. I don't question much. And
If you go into that state, it will be so obvious to everybody around you that they will not cope.
yeah, I think it's both. I think it's everything. It's a reflection. Like my fear I feel inside. It's what is inside. It's the way that my mind is making sense of it, and what I'm perceiving of outside is the same thought, but reflecting in the opposite, right, of the other seemingly outside people. So it is the same um, energy kind of that is unfolding in one side and the other. I don't know. I think it's just because I have trained a lot in therapy and emotional states and brain and nervous system and trauma and birth imprint, and I've trained a lot in this. So in a way there is a part who want to make sense of it in that reference frame. At the same time, this devotional path it's kind of a little bit different in a way. So I'm feeling this unfoldment, and it's interesting. It's
Mm.
interesting to see it.
Do you imagine that if you allowed that devotional state to flow fully, do you imagine that you would be unable to operate normally?
No, I don't think about. I don't see really that there is there is control on behavior. I don't perceive much as control on behavior. I perceive there is discomfort. There is experience of discomfort. There is challenges. There is emotions emerging. But
For you
I'm
or
less
other?
and less. I'm less and less interested in behaviors because I see they are really a side effect. They're not that important. Yeah.
Would you still be a good father and a good husband if that state flowed?
Well, in fact, that's what's interesting. It is through my son that I'm feeling this devotion, which can be very weird, but I'm saying that I'm not responsible of my child. I'm not, like life is unfolding in him, and there is nothing that will stop it. I'm just watching it. I'm like, okay, let's see what happened there. And
Mm.
that's what also why this role of being a father was and is very helpful at the moment for this. So I don't feel that it is in a way it's really the opposite. I'm I feel there is a better presence for my child and acceptance for everything and love and all this. With my partner, it's a little bit different. With my partner, I think it's challenging because there is no the the romantic aspect and you somehow the personal aspect of the relationship is vanish more and more, which with a child doesn't really matter, because
Mm.
they are just playing, you leave, that it's more fluid. But with adults, with my partner, it's totally different. Oh, yeah, interesting.
So if you have no control, you don't control the resistance that appears to this,
No,
and neither do you control letting go of the resistance.
well, that's the trick with control. I think we the question has have always to that depending on the perspective, because I'm aware that there is nothing holding anything, right? I think that there's nothing holding this experience of resistance within me. The very fact that it is arising, this is a very experience of holding something. So now this is where I said to see that control, there is no control and there is absolute control. They are both equal value. So that's what I am playing with at the moment.
Mm.
Don't you see this? I think, don't you experience this? Like, obviously you can't, when something emerges, you can't negate that is emerging. that is present, right? You feel a resistance or an emotion or something.
Mm.
But I think we can't negate also that if if it's some kind of contraction, the contraction itself, it's an expression of the infinite. It's an expression of experience.
As is everything.
As is everything. So in a way, it is whatever that it is experiencing. It is its will. It is its choice. But not
Mm.
from a logical perspective. Not from a I'm going to choose if I'm going to
Yeah,
drink tea or coffee this morning. But it is like if it is appearing, it's because life or God or whatever
yeah,
is appearing. So what. So from this perspective, I think it's difficult to say there is no choice or there is choice because if I say I have choice, it doesn't feel right. But if I say I have no choice, it doesn't feel right either. It doesn't feel like it's really correct because I'm not helpless,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
So control, I think it requires more subtlety than I can answer yes and I can answer no, but both are right, but at the same time they are not. So that's also interesting.
So if you didn't call it resistance, if you instead of resting in the idea that there's something resisting an emergence of a movement into a devotional, more devotional, or whatever, yeah. If you didn't call it resistance, you become aware of two things. You become aware of an inclination for that and an inclination against that,
Yeah.
or or maybe that's not quite right, but an inclination for that and something that appears to be block it.
Yeah, I think it is interesting your perspective on inclination. Like maybe that's a very good way to approach resistance. Maybe it's a very good way to approach resistance from this perspective of it. When there is when there's an attraction for two seeming opposite poles, that's where you start to feel the energy of resistance or blockage, like you say,
Mm.
because you feel attracted to two things and seemingly one seem better than the other, than the other, or something like this. Like there's this because of course nothing is opposite, so it's simply like
Mm.
this forever crossroad where the human experience is, right? There is always, if I'm in this meeting, I cannot be in another meeting. So therefore there is this, I want to be in both. I want to be everywhere. So there's maybe this
Mm.
sense of limitation, maybe present still. Yeah. Yeah, that I think that's a very good way to present resistance.
Mm. Yeah, I think we condition to imagine that it's one or the other. It's either positive or negative or plus or minus or however you want to put it. But in fact, reality is that we can have both going at the same time. And it's not a fight between them. It's not that one is going to win or the other. They can both have equal uh, energy or whatever. And if we just accept that whatever happens happens, and we don't need to pay any attention to one or the other, or either, or both. We can just go,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just the way it is. Mm.
Yeah.
See, we imagine it's clean and we imagine it's just a binary situation, but in fact, it's very complex. always really complex.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's infinite. This is, well, reality is limitless. So the amount of complexity doesn't never apply to any boundaries. So yeah,
Mm,
it's
mm.
always getting ever complex. And my partner is a lot in human design. You know human design
A little.
approach? Yeah, it's it's this approach that just gives you very specific the mechanics of your mind and body and basically tells you, like a little bit like, astrology and things like this.
Mm,
But what is interesting is they tell me I'm thinking about my functioning that makes sense, you know, and the mind, all of our mind function differently. And I see that my mind, for example, it's always open. So I can shift my whole system of belief very fast, immediately. If I can shift constantly with everyone, and I understand everyone, and therefore there's no really a graspable ability from my mind. I don't really grasp anything,
mm.
which has its value, and then it's at its opposite, which is and
Yeah.
I have I can never really affirm that one path is the best. I mean, every path is fine, and no one is lost anyway. So it's this kind of open, like etherical state of talking with me. And with others, it's very different when you're with someone which is a very focused mind and very structured. It just tells you things, and that's you know. So that's what I noticed, and that's what that is.
Yeah.
I see it very, very interesting because people who are focused mind in spirituality, they are like politics, like the
Yes.
president tell you, we're gonna do this, and this is what will happen, and then this will happen, and everyone will be happy. Vote for me. Well, people in spirituality who are that strong, I feel the same sensation. Oh, he knows or she knows, what is good for me, what is the next part. So, well, there is value in it. There is value in everything, right? But I'm just noticing it now. Um, yeah.
I imagine people who have very strong ideals have a very entrenched identity that they need to protect, so they're not open to alternatives so easily.
Yeah. Well, what is interesting, there is the same flavor in the non-dual realization has the same flavor sometimes. Like you can feel very open and clear, and then you are exposed to something, and the mind just grasps it, and they try to apply its understanding and try to understand, and then you feel like you're lost again, and you're feeling the grip again, right? And this is what I'm really noticing it. And last week with this huge doubt coming up, well, how I make sense of it now, it's like I had forgot what was to be fully emerge into into the thought of separation. I completely forgot what it was.
Mm,
At the point that some people come to me and I don't understand anything. What was but the issue? And now it's like I will show you what is the issue when you are there. And yeah, that's right. That's terrible. That's really like, yeah, it's I ca- I can soon, no, because somehow I had some reference points of perspective. And that was very, very interesting to perceive, very useful.
mm. Could you describe the inclination to move into divinity? How do you experience that?
The way I experience it is a complete overlooking of the personal.
Mm.
It's like whatever emerge, like seem to be a problem, what like money, work, relationship, health, emotions, pain, anything that seem to be personal, you simply instead of trying to heal it, to look at it, to work on belief, to try to improve, to any of this, you simply you 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 look above to the light constantly. It's just it is the appearance of like a cloud, like a dark cloud appearing, and you simply focus on the light above, the light above, the light above, and it dissipates. So it is this kind of devotion in the sense that everything is okay, even though it doesn't seem so. Everything is okay, even though it seems terrible. Everything is okay, even though I'm feeling pain and doesn't seem to have an end. Everything is okay. Everything, it's kind of, but not everything is okay. Like, like it will end in the future, or like there will be a no. It's like everything is okay now, even though it seemed to be
Yeah.
not okay. Even though it,
So would you
and
say
that's, oh, tell me.
would you say that a description might be that the the perspective has grown out the the perspective is a God view?
I see. I think this is the process for everyone, is to go back to this God view, which is there is God in the sense all that is reality, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
there is no distinction between anything.
Yes. So there's
So
no
yeah,
focus on any one thing. The focus is always on everything, really
yeah,
wide
yeah.
open.
And even when the focus is very tight, it can be very, very tight and amazingly tight. That's also the 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 full focus also.
Right. So that's
It
a
is
right focus is a focus within a focus.
exactly, exactly. So if so the devotion in that sense is to feel that even if I sometimes the perspective can be very focused, it doesn't change the that is tight focus. Me, my life, David, my struggle, my son, my family, my my health, my food, my money, my me. It's appearing within
Yes.
me, within this broader thing. Even though, of course, when it seemed to be tight, it seemed that that's the only thing that exists, you know. But that's yeah, that's the broad. And I think we are all the whole process is this is
Mm.
the undoing of the belief, the undoing of those limits, to
Yes.
remember to see that in fact you are always this broad view. No, it doesn't matter how it seemed to appear.
Mm.
But some of us, some expression are more like from a relationship perspective, like romantic, like some others are more like a very modern science, like neuroscience, brain, or a scientific, like quantum fields and things like this. And other are devotional, like this is the higher power to God, to think. And I think to me, it started to make more sense, this devotion, because when I understand that my mind cannot understand anything, like everything I speak about is limited,
Mm.
well, what other option I have? you know, it's like
Yeah.
where do I go from this? You know,
Mm.
but do you feel what I mean, right? I mean, you makes sense to you.
Oh, it makes sense. Yes. And it makes sense in a description that makes sense here is that of identification. So rather than identifying with that wide open perspective of a God view, it's a fading away of identification, right? It's the further out we go, the bigger the mystery of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
which is very welcome. It's very freeing, very. It's what a lovely feeling that mystery is to not need to know, not want to know, even just whatever. Everything is all right.
Yeah.
And I wonder sometimes I might imagine that a narrower focus is more of a personal identity, but it can also be that that is a an identification within the wider perspective. So it's seen to be both. It's not lost in. So lost in identification is a different thing. It's believing that there is only that personal
Mm.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I think there is two movements. The first one is when you understand that your personal experience it's a it's an expression of limitation. It's an appearance. It's a limited perspective appearing in infinite. So there is something more, and there is this kind of opening. And after there is the dissolution of this perspective. Not that it disappear, but is what you are sharing. Like even if this is appearing, you don't feel the effect of it. No, it's like, yeah, of course I'm perceiving a room. At the same time, there is no room. There's this deep understanding more that there is no room, right? And I think
Mm.
those are kind of the both movement that I perceive in
Yeah.
myself.
And they're not in conflict. One is not in conflict with the other. One is not dominant over the other. It's just all happening at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. But there is one thing that I start to perceive, and that's what I enjoy in the devotion, or what I call devotion is the teaching of Jesus, right? This the line of of his teachings. It's the the relation, the aspect of relationship, because in non-dual tradition, if you take in the what I'm reading, often they are more like who I am, they are more this path of inner exploration. But what I find interesting is the aspect of being all together in this. Like right now we are in a conversation, so we are supporting each other. And it doesn't matter the format of it, you know. Like all of my experience and everyone appearing within it is part of my process, is helping me, kind of releasing or realizing what I am in all the different aspects possible here and now. And I think this is it's a very nice way of expressing it. That's a very loving and tender way
Mm.
uh, to feel that.
But that's not limited just to other people, is it? It's also whatever the circumstances, whatever appears to be around us, also does that, even if it's inanimate.
Yeah, well, yeah, because there is no solidity.
Mm,
And that's, yeah, because the mind is, my experience is a projection of my thoughts, and
mhm,
is not the opposite. And that's very interesting also. You
mm.
see? Yeah. So yeah, of course, experience is the unfoldment of infinity. So whatever is appearing, it's appearing and it's supporting.
So, as a projection of yourself, it makes you infinite.
Yeah. Well, limitless,
Yes,
infinite, yeah.
yes, yeah.
Infinite,
There can,
timeless.
there can be nothing that is not you
Yeah.
at the same time as everything is you, but you are also nothing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the sentence, I am everything but nothing in particular.
Mm.
But that's
Yes.
also
Yes. In particular means limited. Yes.
yeah. But that's also the description of God. So then, you know,
Mm.
whatever the description or name you want to put on it.
Yeah, of course. Yes, yes. And my description of God includes
Mm.
the devil and evil and everything that can be described.
Yeah, well, the devil, it's very
Yeah.
misunderstood because hell is
Of
the
duality.
belief. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Is the belief that the the limited perspective is reality, is all that is, and it is terrible. It's a
Mm.
terrible way of existing. But I think what is not often emphasized is the infinity aspect of it. Because it is infinite, we never reach any end to this
Mm.
unfoldment.
There's no
So we
beginning
are,
or end. Yeah.
yeah. So everything is in constant unfoldment. And even this understanding is always evolving and always evolving, always changing, always getting brighter and brighter and bigger. But it's not like bigger in the sense that at some point you will reach the end of it, right?
Mm. Mm.
That I think that's why if you take any teachers or any tradition of anything, they are always expanding, you know. So someone wrote a book about enlightenment, and then he wrote another book about enlightenment, and then another book, and then another book, and it's yeah, because there is just expressing infinity in a different various way.
Mm.
It's beautiful. Hello, Tim.
Mm. That's him.
Bonjour, Robin.
Hi. Mm. There's no end to the mind boggle. There's no end to the it's not possible to wrap the mind around anything. So the idea of infinite expansion, the idea of infinity can't be grasped. It can it requires finiteness to exist as infinity, and expansion requires a current and a past and a future and so on. So it's not possible to make any sense of it mentally with words or with
Yeah.
description.
Mhm. But it's felt, it's experience, because it is what we are, and I think this is what I like about this direct path of what is devotion. Is like you go directly, constantly to this, you know, to this to our own presence.
Mm. So what about the idea that to help somebody to begin to experience some of this stuff, we have to meet them where they are in a artificial world of finiteness, of limits, of control, of all of that stuff. I guess the non-duality people don't. They try to say go in one step to infinity, maybe, but
Yeah, you just read my mind from about a minute ago. There was I don't know, I was scrolling through something on YouTube and one of your shorts came up. It might have been a recent one. And you said that I think it was entitled Presence was the thing. And you said that you are genuinely interested in the person before you and the discovery, I'm paraphrasing what you said, the discovery that is available there. And I think this is the difference, and it's maybe what you're addressing just now, is that compared to some of the others, the direct people, uh, there's a palpable sense that you engage. You look at the person, usually, unless you're pondering something, you invite, that there's a dialogue of a different nature that I think is encouraged or evolves or unfolds, rather than a kind of didactic teaching of sorts that goes on. There's, to me anyway, this is just my experience, there's a flow here. There's a movement, is the only way I can put it. I didn't catch the beginning of this conversation, obviously, but so I'm just tagging into this tail end here. But this is why I come here.
mm,
Well, it's not the only reason, but
yeah, yeah.
because it's real. If you what words are we using? But it lands, as the common parlance says. Yeah?
Well, it probably
Whereas, yeah,
out
yeah,
of experience. So, I
yeah,
mean, I listened to Nisargadatta um, Ramana Maharshi and Osho and well, you name them. You know, like 45 years of listening, they just told me stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
It didn't change my experience.
Yeah.
What eventually did it, that one sentence asked me to look at my experience.
Yeah. And it's like it's hidden in plain sight. It's almost like that you know that book, The Open Secret. Well, to me, what you just described, that's whatever he was on about. What you just described is the open secret, is the real looking for oneself and experiencing. And in fact, I was having an exchange with a friend of mine. We've been at all this for some time. He went into NLP and other things, but he still gets like he's on a mailing list for Ramesh's jewels of something. I can't remember what they are. They're just quotes from Ramesh Balsekar and some of those people. And he was the last exchange I had with him. He said, "Tim, Rupert, he's a fan of, is going to be appearing near here. Would you like to come up and see him with me? He's 84. He might watch this. It doesn't matter. John, this is not personal. You know that. His wife has to take him places. And he said, would you like to go? And I've made it clear that much as I respect what Rupert Spira does, it doesn't speak to me anymore. It's kind of not where I'm at. And he sent a slightly distraught message saying, I thought we were bros. I thought we are on the same page. And, then he realized that's my perception that there's a separation here. What works, in quotes, for you might not be for me. Yet I think he sent you an email with his story and asked about meetings. And he sent one to Marius as well. And he hasn't been to them, but that's fine. He's not where he's got heart stuff and. Um, where does that go? So, why am I saying that? Yeah, and what do I know? I can't possibly know what is in anyone else's best interest. I really can't. He might hear, if you want to put it this way, the one thing. I think this is what he's kind of looking for, like the one thing, like a magical sentence that will ping him somewhere. I don't know where there would be. And I used to be the same. I get it. I wanted that one key, the missing. I've said it before, and I realized no, that does happen for some people. It happened for you, didn't it, when you came across Eric Gross?
Yeah.
That ping. Oh yeah. But then, of course, we realized that isn't it. That's as maybe what do you call it, stream entry or something, and there's stuff in the wake, like of a ship as the wake, and it's all kind of still bubbling there, and then that has to settle and be looked at, and that's right. I came into this conversation. I think you both were saying it's ongoing. Were you, David, and you were saying or discussing that it's ongoing because David, you mentioned that one of these enlightened beings, teachers, had written a series of books, or maybe not a series. They'd written one on enlightenment and then another one. And out of interest, what happened in the second one? Was there like a deepening expressed of compared to the first one, or
No, we were
I
talking with
missed I
Vince
missed that.
about
Sorry, yeah, yeah,
yeah, about the infinity aspect of reality, of
right,
experience.
right, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, and how
we're
it
talking
can't
about
be.
what you share, that it's it's a never-ending unfoldment and clarification.
Sure, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
I wasn't speaking about a specific teacher. I was just speaking that
Okay,
even for teacher, even for Raman, even for Insegarta, when he died, for
yes,
example, he say, oh, in his bed, in his deathbed, or
deathbed, yeah,
when,
deathbed,
yeah,
yeah,
deathbed, he said, oh, I never felt so much joy.
Yeah.
So that's the proof that there was an unfoldment, right? And I was just pointing to that, not as a critics, like great, just write books,
No,
write
no.
everything. But it's just
Sure,
like
sure.
what today feel like great joy, maybe tomorrow it feel like very small because there's a bigger one and a bigger one and a bigger one and that's infinity. That's the expression of infinity. So
Yes,
that's what we were talking with Vince.
that's right. And as without being pedantic, as you know, we can't really know what he meant by joy. I know that sounds a bit. I'm. How can I put it? He might, you know. Sorry, maybe I'm just being pedantic. Um, I'd like to think that the ideal, if there is one, is to just, yeah, be at peace. Maybe that's what he meant. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm just being unnecessarily pedantic. But yeah. Hi, Tammy.
Right? I mean,
Right.
but I think what you're pointing to, Tim, it's like I cannot know what is the other experience.
Exactly. Yeah,
So
that's really what I
if
meant. Yeah, yeah.
I can't, I mean, if in Siddhartha say he's happy, or if my mother tell me she's happy, or if my son tell me he's happy, I'm happy for all of them, but I don't really know what I'm talking about. I only know what I mean by happiness. So the real question
Absolutely.
is, am I happy? And what does happiness mean to me? And
Yeah,
how deep I am feeling it or whatever. I think
yeah,
this is
yeah,
what is the truth.
yeah. And you know, and there are states I felt blissfully happy. Um, you know, the ridiculous. Yeah, again, we're getting into language. Yeah, you know what I mean. I think enough.
Mm. So before Tammy speaks, before Vince asks Tammy what she's been experiencing over the last 24 hours, Vince here has a cascading of stories and emotions and experiences that relate to his ideas of what she might be going to say, stories that come up about what she might have been experienced, what you might have been experiencing, Tammy. And there's a really interesting experience in the middle of that that somehow there is an actual connection. It's easy to say at a superficial level that, okay, I'm imagining what Tammy might have been experiencing and I'm reacting to each of those imaginings. But there's this really tangible thing that Tammy is here. And so there's something actual that happens, that's an actual connection, even if it's ethereal. There's something going on that's rather interesting, isn't there? It's like it shows us the infinity of what is actual. I know that sounds woo-wooish, but it's like, yeah, yeah. Anyway, thank
I
you
think that's
for being
yeah,
here, Tammy.
yeah.
Sorry, Tim, go say. Yeah.
No, I was just going to reiterate. I think that's kind of what you were pointing to on that short, and I think that's what affected me when I listened to it. I think that to me, that's what you were saying on that short you put up on YouTube
Hmm.
um,
I wasn't
about
just saying
the
it wasn't the what you listened to. That might have that
no,
somehow involved and what you how you related to that was a big much bigger.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But that's
I
not
had
limited to you and it. That's an
say it
involvement.
again. Sir?
That's not limited to you and it. You there,
Right, right.
it there, and so on. There's much more
Yeah,
involvement. That's something.
yes, yeah, yeah.
So thank you for being here, Tammy.
Wow, thank you.
How's the jackhammering going?
OMG. If Zoom did not have a filter, you guys would be going crazy. Um, yeah, I've been kind of doing what you were talking about. It's been crazy because they have permits for nighttime this week, and the decibels, it's like with the shutters closed and headphones on, it still penetrates to your core. And I called the police once at 4 a.m., but they really have permits. So it's like yeah, and now again in the morning. So the sleep is like I wake up kind of like this. It's hard for the body to relax. Um I'm up till the wee hours and then the sleep is like clenched. But I've been trying to do what you're saying, like in the waking hours and stuff. I'm like, okay, let's use this, let's experiment, let's see. I've tried to have a better attitude, I would say, or see what different thought patterns about it can do, different behaviors. I'm doing what I can. Um, Not sure how long it can last because it's like, yeah, relaxing into a very intense kind of thing. And I'm not sure, the mind over matter thing, or in other words, how much I can play with it before I go bonkers. But so far, I would say, and I've had also very intense stuff with the body, with the emotions, with stuff, and I've been using ChatGPT and stuff. So I've had, my 4 or 5 hour um, bouts where I can't move, either from pain or from exhaustion on the couch, and then a lot of like catharsis and crying about stuff. I don't know. Um, I think there's maybe like 1% more something,
Yeah.
regulation, acceptance, calm, something, although that all might dissolve because if I can't sleep more than a few hours a night, I might really have to move. And that I can't even think about without literally going, like,
Mm.
because it seems so impossible.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
that's very, very scary to me and dysregulating. But yeah, just have been playing with all the body pain, the noise, the thoughts.
Yeah. So do you
Yeah.
think that this permit is the result of a right-wing government that thinks that money is much more important than humanity?
I've never gone into that kind of thinking. I'm more like um, they're building infrastructure for public transportation, like for a light rail. So they're right near me. They're digging into stone to install power plants and whatever. So it's
Mm.
these heavy machinery. It's not, that they're building a high rise or something. It's just, and it's going to take about 3 years, they say. So, and it's all over the city. Like, in other words, um, so yeah, I don't have a feeling of like someone's living in luxury, but it's just they're completely, I think this is or should be illegal. These levels are just impossible. So,
Mm. Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, not just you, of course. There's everybody who lives in the area that you're in is affected by this, eh?
I've asked some people in the building. There's this one blonde, floopy lady with two kids, and she's like, "Oh, I don't hear it. I just hear my kids or something." But she also she faces the other side. She's not on the street like I am.
Mm.
But my sister finally told me that a ton of people write in every day to complain on their WhatsApp group. Um, but yeah, but yeah, it does affect everyone in the city. So
Mm. I mean, they should give you double glazed windows and things like that while if it's going to go on for 3 years. Good heavens, that's somewhat ridiculous, isn't it?
yes,
Mm.
yeah. Um, yeah. So just a lot of like um, looking into, I guess, just kind of with
So it even
ChatGPT.
overwhelms noise cancelling headphones or iPods. I yeah,
Yep, everything, Vince.
mm.
Mm, yeah. So a lot of like checking in with ChatGPT about, just I don't know, and with you guys and with people about
Yeah.
what can
So
be done. Yeah,
from,
is it
from what you say, the level of decibels will induce industrial deafness, and surely nobody has the right to subject somebody to that.
well, with windows closed, I don't think it's at those levels. I measured actually last night at 3 in the morning, but with windows closed, the peak was 80 point something and the consistent LAEQ was 57. So I think 50 is the limit, but I don't know for
Mm.
indoors with closed. But it's not like it's 100 in the house, although it is over 100 with the windows open. But
Yeah. But
this is
industrial deafness happens above what, something like 75, I thought.
hmm So the peaks are above 80 with windows closed, but not consistent.
Mm.
So yeah, no, I it's not like that with windows closed. There are again peaks over 80 or 90 sometimes, but not consistent.
Mm.
Hmm.
Are you renting or do you own the place?
Renting.
Mm. So how feasible is moving somewhere?
I mean, we are on the public platform, Vince, but the story of how I got here is quite intense in and of itself. So the thought of moving is like earth shattering. In other
Yeah,
words,
yeah. Another wait for eternity or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's not impossible in theory, but um,
So what if you applied for another place and then you might have to wait some time, but at least something might be happening?
yeah, it's more like emotionally if I can handle it. Um, And there's just so many things here that I need.
Mm. So when you say there's been a 1%, I get what you mean. It's a minute improvement, but that the really big value in that is that it's big enough for you to have noticed that there is an improvement. That's pretty big, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, my sister kind of whatever, she was deceptive last night. We had a whole conversation. At the end of it, I found out she was just lying to me the whole time. Anyway, I can't explain it. It's just ridiculous things. But
Mm.
like, and I was thrown, but I don't know. I guess, and with the noise and with everything, there's definite something. There's maybe a 1% calmer in the body, a 1% less willingness to go into dysregulation and the craziness. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to go there. And I don't know how long it can last because the situation seems so untenable. Like, the actual story and circumstance seems so untenable. In other words, I don't know if the Tammy can handle all the things that need to come next. In other words, might having to move or to find new people in my life or, stuff like this. It feels like that's been a lot of the crying as well, of like, what is possible and how to not seeing things, not feeling possible of movement in the actual world. That sure, I can be 1% calmer, but um, I don't know if that's enough to stay regulated and sane and
Oh well,
uh,
it may just be a
move
beginning, eh?
elsewhere. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So one of the big things here, one of the
Mm.
big things that happened for me when with waking up was the inevitability aspect of circumstances. And in a way, if you decide to not move, then you're here. If you decide to move, you're still here until that move happens. Right? So,
Yeah.
so there is an inevitability about now, isn't there? There's no way around that. You're right now. You're in the thick of it, and that's inevitable. There's no way out of that right now. Is that true?
Yeah, I'm like entertaining the thought of could I sleep somewhere else, but I don't
But even if you
think
even if you
yeah,
make a
um,
decision to do that, until you do it, you're here.
yeah, true. Yeah, and there's a lot of gratitude that there's that 1% calmer as I'm here because it's not a small thing, as you say. It's
Yeah, yeah. And what's even bigger is the idea that it it shows that something can happen. So maybe that 1% can grow to 2% or 10% or something, whatever. But the that 1% shows you that it's possible. And that's a pretty big thing, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, definitely. Hmm.
So you can imagine conceptually, a story that kind of says it's a downward path into difficulty, if you like, while you fight it, but you can't get away from it. So resignation. right? And then once resignation sets in, we can actually turn around and go with that and willingly accept what the situation is because it's inevitable. There's no way around it. There's no alternative. And so we go from resignation into looking for the positive, looking for the value in the situation, and with a bit of luck, recognize that things experience is different because of that. So you can see that you like the downward path into resignation is you end up being, a victim. You just got to put up with it, and it's terrible, and so on. Right? And then you kind of turn around and go the other way. Instead of being pushed backwards down, you turn around and you willingly go in that direction of acceptance. And all of a sudden, the same stuff's going on, still happening the same, but it's having a different effect. There's a movement in that. And so maybe you're already past the turning point from victimhood into that willing acceptance when you experience that 1%. That's a lovely concept, isn't it? That's a great story about where you might be right now. The mere fact that you can recognize that there's an improvement, not just that there is an improvement, that you can recognize it. That suggests that something is actually happening. And it's not just a mental thing. It's actually your nervous system is responding differently for you to experience that 1%. It's got kind of magical, isn't it?
It really is. It really is. After so many years of being stuck in frenzy, um, the possibility of, I've had moments of peace in my life, but the possibility of making that more of my everyday experience and deepening that
Mm.
is huge. I don't know. I kind of feel like I'm falling into resignation, but on the way, I'm kind of trying to claw out and I'm saying, no, 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 because I feel like when you were describing that whole thing, it's like, I don't know, then like God or the universe or the abuse gets to win because not only am I agreeing to it and stopping to fight, I'm gonna actually like it and smile. Like, no, 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 no. You're not gonna get me to even like this. Like, no, that is
No.
like the ultimate. Like, I don't know. There's something like
Yeah,
that there.
yeah, yeah. No, no, it'll always be shit. There's no way around that.
Mm,
and and to find a positive way through that acceptance doesn't mean you're saying it's okay. You're just
mm,
that it's gonna bounce off me in a different way to what it used to. That's all. Yeah.
mhm.
So now be really honest here. I'm not after platitudes, and I don't want you to be polite. But how did you go listening to that recording I sent you? What happened when you were actually listening to that? Do you remember?
Yes. So I've been listening every day. Um, the first time I heard it was tremendous tears of just gratitude because I thought you were going to say, okay, Tammy, time to fight. Let's wash out your colon. Let's wash out your system. Let's get you cleaned up. Like I thought it was going to be another activation. And instead, you're like, you've been trying for so long. None of this is your fault. Like rest. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I think it was my first night of sleep that I actually slept without tension.
You're going to have me
Um,
now.
it was just the most beautiful gift. It was just unbelievable. Um, yeah, and then the next few nights when I listened to it, I didn't even hear the end because it just put me into such a calm state. I fell asleep within the first few words, so that was another gift. Um, yeah.
And so, did you find that the effect of it lessened each time?
I think the last few nights were challenging. Like last night, I was about to press play, and then the jackhammer started, and I didn't. And like I don't know, maybe the the whole physical hammering, um, is having its own effect.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
but but yeah, it didn't have that same wow quality as the first day or two that I was listening, which was just unbelievable. Um, but it still affected something,
mm.
and I fell asleep differently, I think.
Now, do you get that effect that you experienced had nothing to do with me and nothing actually coming out of all you were getting out of your device was sound, but it was your response to that that gave you the effects that you're talking about. Do you get that?
Well, Vince, do you get that my response to your voice versus a jackhammer is going to do something different in my nervous system?
Well, I'm glad my voice doesn't sound like the jackhammers. Mm. What I'm trying to say to you though, what I want you to hear is that it was something in you that brought about that experience.
I don't know what that means because,
Uh,
to me, different things affect my nervous system and
yes.
they'll bring out different things that are in me, but it takes that thing to bring it out, it
Mm,
seems. I don't know.
mm.
Maybe eventually I can learn to access that on my own, which is,
Yeah, yeah.
what I hope. But
So if we just get that one little step here, and that is to say that you recognize that something in you responded to something. We don't have to specify what it is. Something happened in you that was entirely in you, even though it might have been triggered by something outside of you, but it was something in you that changed. If you can just accept that as a tangible reality, that opens up doors for us in the future. That's all I'm looking to say. So even though you can say, "Oh yes, that triggered me," what it triggered was an internal process in you. And if you can acknowledge that, that has juice. I don't know how to say it better. You know what I mean?
Mhm, mhm. Well, I think of course, and that's where the whole victimhood is as well. In other words, I'm affected
Absolutely.
by
Yes.
how my mother spoke to me and by the jackhammer. So, in other words, I feel like we are a victim. I don't know if you call it victim, but we're affected by the environment.
Of course.
And I don't
Of
know
course.
that we
Yeah,
can help
yeah.
that. So,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
isn't that victimhood? In other words, we can't help being affected by the outside and we don't have control over it.
Yeah, the difference is whether we resist it and in a losing way, a failing way, or whether we just recognize that it's there outside of us, and really the impact it has on us depends a large amount on our attitude towards it. Right. For you now, here's one. For example, right, that your sister was lying to you. Right. Now, I used to play golf with a bloke who cheated. Never worried me in the slightest. I knew what he was doing. I knew he had a hole in the bottom of his pocket and he was dropping a ball out in a place that suited him. Didn't worry me in the slightest. Even if he won the day because he cheated, didn't worry me. He's only cheating himself. It didn't affect me. I was there for the fun of it, and I still that didn't take any of the fun away from me.
I get what you're saying. I kind of had a little bit of that last night because I was starting to go crazy. I'm like, again, here she is with these patterns of this and that and excluding and lying to me. And why can't she this? And I was like, maybe it's not about me. Maybe that's just her behavior and how she deals with life. And like,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
not about me.
And
But
if she's like that frequently, then you don't expect her to not be that way.
yeah.
And it never is. You know, this brings me to something that Tim brought up earlier about presence. You know, what really is interesting about presence is that, right, I can remember having conversations with people and waiting for them to stop talking or pause so that I could respond in a certain way. And these days that doesn't happen like that. You know, there's no, like, if I'm listening to somebody, I'm not even thinking about myself, what's going on here. I'm just soaking in what's coming from them. It's like it's that presence means that I'm not busy in my own head with myself while they're offering whatever it is they're offering. I don't want to come over as arrogant here. I'm not saying that this is superior or great or anything like that. I'm just saying something that we don't know about in our culture, our Western society. We think that an exchange, we talk about people having a conversation as an exchange. And then when we look at that, we start to go, well, you offer something and then I'll offer something in return. Well, that's not what presence is it? So connection is really about me being present for you, me being available. Now, I don't do that. That's not something that I apply. It's just something that happens. And so with your sister, if you had that attitude, you would just be available, right? You and she's still lying to you. You wouldn't be interested in what the lies were about. You'd be interested in what was her need to do that, to say that. What's she looking for? What is she trying to achieve by doing that? Does she want you to see her in a certain way? Whatever, you know. So here you are, totally engrossed in what's behind what she's saying, not what she's saying. You know, they're lies. Who cares what she's lying about, right? But the fact that she feels the need to lie is saying something. And if you're interested in that, what you'll find is, because you're not judging her, she'll start to do things differently. Maybe, maybe not. It depends whether she twigs to your openness, your availability for her. But
Yeah, I think,
yeah,
sorry.
a lot of people in society are essentially narcissists. Sorry, Tam,
Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but yeah, no, I think that she kind of is. And I think after I started to go crazy, I was like, I don't want to go crazy. I don't want to have the same reaction. What can I tell myself, or how can I look at this differently? And then I was thinking, do I think that she's doing this to hurt me or to put me down, or is she just trying to get her needs met? Like, is
Yes,
she
yes.
joyful about excluding me and getting away with it? Because it was like, it was just simply about coming over to her house. I said, hey, should I come over? Because she has three little babies and I often come help. And I was going to come over. And then she was like, she gave some excuse. And it turns out that someone else was there. And I think she just didn't want me to come over that day. But
Hmm.
instead of saying, hey, listen, someone came over, I whatever, I think she wasn't able to say that. I don't know. This is all stories in my head, but maybe she just didn't want me to come over,
Yeah.
and that's why she said. And then we had a whole half an hour conversation where she was being all warm, and usually she isn't. And at the end, I was like, "Hey, can I say goodnight to the babies?" And she was trying to like avoid it and avoid telling me that this other person had been there the whole time when she said, "Oh, the kids are going to sleep, no one's here." And I'm like, what, dude? But it was so betraying because she was finally so open-hearted in that conversation. I felt so warm. I'm like, oh, I do have a sister. And it was just so calm and loving. And then it turns out she was like deceiving me the whole time. It like pulled the rug out from under me. I'm like, what is this?
Mm.
And then I was like, was she like gleeful in like having won over, like lying to me and excluding me and feels powerful over me? Or is this like she just didn't want me to come, doesn't know how to do it in
Yeah.
a smart way? But it was just very bizarre. And
Yeah, I'd say she probably had a story going in her head that if she said to you, I've got somebody here, I don't want you to come over, that you'd be hurt. I would imagine something along those lines. So she was avoiding that and not
yeah,
realizing the negative consequences of what she's doing. But who knows?
yeah, but she
You know,
was,
we don't actually know, do we?
it
We can
just,
never really
yeah,
know where somebody else is coming from.
yeah. And I guess some of the stories were hurtful to me, like, oh, she, tries to exclude me, she only uses me, and then when other people are around, this kind of stuff.
Oh,
But
yeah.
then,
Okay. But they were stories you told yourself, weren't they?
right, so then I'm like, can I tell myself a different story? Like she just changed her mind and wanted that person for herself and didn't want other company. But it's still very um bizarre and hurtful, but I didn't want to go down that line, and so I was able to kind of look at it in a different way and not spiral all night from
Mm.
that, on the jackhammer itself,
Yeah.
which is, I guess, first arrow rather than second arrow. I don't, because the
You can be,
jackhammer was real.
you've heard that thing about you can tell when somebody's lying because their mouth is moving. Well, it may not be quite like that with her, but you can tell when somebody's talking about themselves because their mouth is moving.
Mm.
In other
Mm.
words, every time somebody talks, they're going to be talking about themselves.
Hmm. You mean if they put someone else down, then it's not about the other person?
Doesn't know what they're saying, really. If they're making a sound, it's probably true.
Mm.
There would be exceptions. I mean, should I say I'm an exception? Well, I'm not, because when I'm saying I'm that about them, I'm telling you my belief, aren't I? I'm telling you a
Mm.
story that I've got here. So I am talking about myself when I open my mouth.
Mm.
Oh, it's an interesting world. It is.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Um, yeah, I feel like I've been through 5 lifetimes. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Look, my my mother died, oh God, I don't know, 11 years ago or something now. And at that time, my brother and I became estranged over the whole situation, and there was a big fight about inheritances and all sorts of things, and we essentially didn't talk. We didn't talk. I got an email from him once a year for my birthday, and he'd say happy birthday, and I'd say thanks, and I'd email him on his birthday and say happy birthday, and so on. And 2 weeks ago, or and about 2 years ago, I said, come and we'll go sailing. We'll take my boat out and we'll go sailing. And he said, yeah, maybe I'll do that. Well, it didn't happen for 2 years. And then about 2 weeks ago, he said, are you all right for Saturday? And
mm,
okay, and I was remembering the last time we actually had a conversation, and oh boy, I couldn't open my mouth without being judged. I felt at the time. Um, and it was pretty bad. Anyway, he turned up, and guess what? It was like a different person. We had a great time. He was good. And I've seen him once again since then, and he was still nice. Wow. I thought, wow, has he changed, or have I changed, or what's happened? What's different, you know? But it's like, we had that terrible relationship, and it was like he was dead to me, like I don't have a brother. And not that I was heavily onto it, but it was like it was of no interest to have any kind of communication or whatever. And now, wow, it's different. He's become a nice person. I got to laugh when I think about that. Yeah.
Mm.
So, you never know. You never know what goes on in somebody else's life either. Yeah.
I guess if I would say anything about homework or anything, I would say, yeah, there's definitely this 1% and stuff, and I've definitely had calmer times in the last few weeks, but um, with the pain spiking and more about the noise and stuff, I don't know. I can feel that I'm starting to go. I mean, of course, this is whatever, but I feel that I'm starting to go into panic mode about the possibility of anything changing. It just seems like a lot, having to, I don't know, just it's been like
So
a lot has
do
been.
you, do you recognize that that's an old story that's turned up about anything changing, about panic mode? I'm not saying it's not legitimate. I'm not saying anything about that. I'm saying, but it's an old story, isn't it? It's a really old one that's turned up again. Maybe it never went very far away,
Yeah,
but it's a repetition of a story that used to be predominant. And then for a moment, it's a little bit less predominant, less frequent, maybe, less intense, maybe. And then,
absolutely. And then it's starting up again today, I guess, because someone close to me said, well, you're going to have to move because you can't go for weeks without sleeping. And I'm like, oh my God. And
right.
combined with the lack of sleep and the noise, the body's like shaking again and not calm and
Yeah, yeah.
bub.
Yeah, but can you also see, and this is another big one, do you recognize that that started up again because it got triggered when somebody mentioned what they did about moving and not sleeping? That was a trigger for the old stuff to come back. Can you see that now, even if you didn't before?
Yes, in that in combination with the actual dysregulation in the body
Yeah,
from the lack of sleep and the noise is the whole thing is like feeling like oh my God, because
yeah,
the
yeah.
body is like
Well,
not, yeah.
so here's another story for you. This is a rather interesting one. My sleep is really varied. Sometimes I sleep soundly, and I can sleep through anything. I can go to sleep really quickly, but sometimes I wake up really early and I'm awake for a while, and then I go back to sleep. Now, what I've discovered is that some I can, like, so my Monday morning group now, I'm up at 5 a.m. for that, and and sometimes I'll go part the way through the day and I say, I need to go and have a sleep. I need to go and have an hour or 2 hours in the afternoon and have a sleep. Other days, I'll get to the evening and realize that I haven't had a sleep and I haven't even felt tired. And it's like I have no idea whether I'm going to be tired or not, regardless of how much sleep I've had. So
Hmm.
sometimes when I'm up at 5 a.m., I still don't get to sleep until after midnight. And so I'm having 5 hours of sleep, and some of that might be interrupted as well. And then other nights I'll sleep for 8 hours or 9 hours even. I will go to bed at 10:30 and not get up until 10 o'clock the next morning. Well, that doesn't happen very often, but it can happen. Uh, and yet on those days I can still feel tired in the afternoon. So it's a total mystery to me how much sleep I need. And one of the things I used to do a bit of was to recognize that if I had a sleep in the day, sometimes I'd wake up and I'd feel like shit. I'd feel really bad. It'd take me half an hour to wake up and I'd be dragging myself around for a while, right? And then I worked out that it was because I woke up from a deep sleep. So what I would used to do was I would go to sleep on my back, and as soon as I turned on my side, I would get up. Right. And I found that what happened was that when I went from sleeping on my back and then I'd turn onto my side, usually it would be somewhere about half an hour or 45 minutes after I went to sleep that I would turn on my side. And when I turned on my side is when I would drop off into a deep sleep. And so I avoided the deep sleep by waking up when I turned onto my side and getting up at that point. And I found that I could sleep for as little as 10 minutes and up to half an hour and feel really refreshed. So it didn't take a long sleep. It didn't take, a whole cycle of sleep in order to get refreshed. And I've read about other people that can get quite a good, well, they call it a cat nap. They quite or a nanny nap. You get just have a little short sleep to refresh you and keep going. So what I'm saying is experimenting with how much sleep you get and how you feel might be a really interesting thing for you to do.
I used to be obsessed with getting enough sleep. I mentioned this once before on the call. And I had to have a nap. That was just a habit, a rule I made up. But recently, and as far as the length of the nap is concerned, I still nap, but I have a timer that wakes me up after maximum 20 minutes, because apparently whoever they are, have found that if you contain the time within that you nap, you don't wake up groggy, and it's refreshing. And I found that to be the case. But I deliberately, without force, I think, I was just aware of this, and I broke the cycle of needing a nap, and experienced things like Vince was saying, like, for example, I'd sleep well one night, like fully for the whatever number of hours, and wake up fine, and then suddenly feel tired. Say, I don't know when, say maybe, I don't know, in the afternoon. What I do then is start to just be with how I felt and the story behind how I felt. So once I dropped that, I'm not saying this is the case for everyone. I went through experiencing those feelings, and I felt okay. I'm not saying that's a remedy. That's not like a prescriptive thing. But I played around with all the kind of considerations I had about sleep. Now, I wasn't challenged by jackhammers. I was challenged by a habit of thought about I'm not going to get enough sleep, and then it would go into the future, which I noticed, understandably, you're doing, and mine are like, I've got to meet so and so for whatever reason tomorrow, and I'd almost think things like, what if I nod off when they're talking, even if they're not boring, and I'd really have thoughts like that. That's mad, and how can I be on form for whatever that means? I don't know what on form would mean. How can I be with it and it would be like nothing major. It would, like I just said, going out for a coffee. It's mad to think of it now. And as I said, I'm stressing it wasn't, I mean, the most we get here as a guy is 40 car alarm. And my wife has got apparently a syndrome, super sensitive, hypersensitive hearing. I have to be really quiet while I move around. And she would kick off about that, but I didn't hear it because I've got hearing loss. So yeah, I can't imagine what that's like, living with that for potentially years. But as Vince pointed out, I think this is what he was saying, is that he didn't say it as directly as this, but it really is what the imagined or projected future brings up that bothers us, I think, or for me. And yes, there is jackhammering going on now and that sort of thing. But anything could happen. Anything, I guess you could call miraculous. Any circumstance could change. You might get invited to. I'm not saying this will happen or anything, but I say magically invited to move somewhere else. That might seem ridiculous, but it can happen. In other words, anything literally could happen between now and the end of the proposed works. Really. Anyway, that's that sleep story.
Yeah, although I am trying to cure myself of magical thinking because I think most of my life I fantasized about moving to Wyoming or to Switzerland, or
Yeah,
some,
I don't. No,
magical thing happening. So I no, but I get what
no,
you're
no,
saying. In other
no. I
words,
mean, being
um,
being open. Well, the point was
yeah,
that that this is that lame story, not story. But we're here now. That we can be aware of what's going on right now, and what I meant was really being open to the point, not magical thinking. I used to be really prone to that. I used to imagine all sorts of like a Walter Mitty kind of syndrome, being a so and so, a proper so and so in another country, even in another
mm,
guise. But and what I meant was being open to, which I'm
yeah,
sure you are, to literally anything, but not fantasizing about it. Being this word
yeah. I know
trust
what you mean.
just come. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, I think I know what you mean. Not being
Yeah.
closed about the future is going to be like that, like being more. But I like what you said also about now. In other words, I realized as you were talking that, I woke up very, very tense in the body and with pain from sleeping clenched and the noise. And then, right before I went to sleep, the person having written to me, well, you're gonna have to move. And like I think that threw me into terror. So now I was holding on to that. And when you
I can
said it, I
imagine
was,
that. Yeah.
yeah, it's just dealing with
Yeah.
how I'm feeling now instead of, and I was going to a whole story of like, you see, this confirms it, I'm all tense and not sleeping well will cause this. But yeah, but it is a bit of a story of fear about I can't handle a move and how will my life look like and how will I find other people if my sister is a so and so? How do I find new people? How do I get the confidence? Like I start to spiral into a whole thing of like, how can I, and also how much can I take this? Like I'm doing the whole spiritual route and going into my feelings and but is this actually healthy for my system to be exposed to this? Or is it okay? I don't know.
Mm.
But but I know what you mean, Vince, about not necessarily knowing how much sleep we need. And definitely I've had days where with 4 hours of sleep and I function great and other days. But and yet we don't want to kind of like I just got certified a year ago as a health coach and I've been going through like stuff about myself had gotten health coaching for several years and it's been helpful. And a lot of it is about, get more sleep, move more, eat better, this kind of stuff. And it's like, so is that all not true? So it's like, what's the intersection of that? But anyway, that's a whole
Mhm.
philosophical thing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, look, I, I don't dispute any of that stuff, the getting enough sleep. But really, when we say getting enough sleep, that's a bit simplistic. We're really talking about getting sufficient quality of sleep.
Yeah. Real rest. Yeah.
Have you ever tried yoga nidra?
Well, you have that recording I sent you was you could call that yoga
Or
nidra.
some anything like that? Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's good. Yeah.
First time I tried, yeah, for the last
Right.
week
Yeah.
or two.
Mm.
Um, yeah. All right. I guess just the going into panic about the future is what I'll have to deal with, what I feel rising up now. But
Yeah. Well, all I can say is if panic happens, enjoy it.
if I'm strong enough to do
Yeah.
anything different than now. But
Yeah. Yeah, I do like that old saying, uh, what doesn't kill us makes us stronger.
But did my whole life make me stronger, or did it make me isolated and lack of self-confidence and alone and sick?
Could have done both of those things. Who knows?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that seems to be the case.
Yeah. It's never one or the other. It's always a bit of both, a bit of everything. Nothing exists in isolation. So, yeah. But the details, of course, are interesting.
Yeah, and I've been realizing a lot about nothing exists alone because I've been looking a lot for purity. Are things pure? Is it pure? Is the intention pure? Is the action pure? Is the, yeah, go
Yeah,
to
that's,
bed, right?
that's an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, yes. Can we have? Is there any such thing as purity, or is it just what is predominant? What we call purity.
Yeah, and
Ev-
does it need to live that standard for it to be okay or for me to could take action or yeah, what were you gonna say?
Mm. It's interesting to consider that everything that we imagine that we know is in relationship to other things. Nothing can exist by itself.
Mm.
You know, Tammy, you bring joy to my life, and and I'm not being gratuitous here. I'm just saying, I find you a really nice person. I like you. And without doubt, that's a result of everything you've been through. God, it makes me want to cry when I think about it. I'm glad you're in my life.
That's really heartwarming. Thank you, Vince. I appreciate it.
I was talking about me, not you.
Mhm.
Mm.
I was listening to a lovely talk the other day called "The Obstacles Are the Path" um, by a Buddhist teacher, and it's something I've really struggled with over the years. Um, I remember hearing people say, "Oh, I wouldn't change anything that's ever happened to me in my life because it's brought me to where I am now." And when I've heard that, I've thought, well, does that mean that you're exactly where you would want to be now, and that you couldn't imagine being anywhere different in your life? You know, that who knows if anything had happened differently, it could have taken you to a better place now. And I still find that a bit of a weird thing to say. But what my point is, um, I mean, we are in Storyland, I suppose. But what I have been doing recently is reflecting on how the biggest challenges in my life have benefited me. And yes, it's true that they've also hurt me, I could say, and caused difficulties. And I really like what you were saying there, Vince, that to acknowledge that it's both aspects are true, that they do harm us, hurt us, and at the same time they grow us. And I think it's a valuable reflection to deeply. And what I used to do is think, well, that thing, yes, maybe. So, for example, my work now in care homes, I do music in care homes, and I love it when it goes well. Oh, it's the most joyful thing. And I would have never chosen that, when I was a young musician. My dreams were not of singing to 10 old ladies with dementia. you know? obviously, I had glamorous visions of, what it would look like. Um, but now, when I think about it, when I do have what seems like a cool gig, playing my music, say, with a great band in some nice venue, I don't know if I actually enjoy that more. In fact, I'm pretty sure I don't enjoy that as much as just having a lovely afternoon, you know, trying to bring a smile to an old lady's face. And when it happens, it's so delightful. And so, in a way, it's my struggles, challenges that have brought me to this life, that for this example, maybe if things had, I could imagine a different life with more success in the way I wanted it. But
Yeah.
that's just fantasy as well, and who knows what, where, how would have happened. But the reality, I guess, as close as I can get, is that my challenges, my limitations, I could say, whatever, everything that's happened has brought me to this, and there is joy in it. And so, I guess that's,
Yeah.
I
So
don't know. That's
how many musicians have reached some pinnacle only to commit suicide?
oh, yeah,
There'd be a list of them, wouldn't there?
big one, yeah.
Yeah. And
I
wouldn't
th-
they give anything to get the joy you get out of that afternoon gig? Yeah. Yeah.
I sorry, I have loads of similar stories, Jed. I'm not going to do the loads of stories things. Having been a musician or being, and having friends who are miserable. There was one guy who is now a guitar teacher, and he knows he punishes himself because he knows or says, I mean, he's 74 now, that he will never be as good as his best mate who went on to do session stuff and tour and that sort of thing. And every morning he gets up and records himself just playing. He's quite a big blues fan. And he'll just try and better himself every day and in his eyes, fails every day. And he's still on this treadmill of one day I'll blah, and it's insane. It's, and on a more personal note, I actually it's a friend of ours has a step brother who's Asperger's, and he's on. I hate to put it this way, they have the spectrum, and he's on the low end, whatever that means. He's not high functioning, but his one love, and pretty much most of what he has in his life, is a love of music, particularly blues. He calls himself blues man. And every week, well, every other week now, in fact, today, he comes here and he can't keep time. He has almost no sense of pitch. He can't remember chords he's been voicing for years. And when he first came here, it drove me mad because I had such rigid. I mean, I like music that's atonal and stuff, but this is different because we were playing standards and stuff, not jazz standards, like pop, and of his choice. And it took me months and months to just drop all my story, most of the stories I had, and just say this is a kind of game we're playing. It's an event. It's just all we're doing. So I won't go on too much, but I've managed to work things so that, for example, when he wants to be the blues man and play guitar, we set one of my son's Telecasters up in open tuning. So all I have to do is shout out the frets, 5, 7, open or octave, whatever like that. And even then, he's slow to get things like that. And we have a very forgiving amp, which has got a decent degree of distortion on, and I say, solo, Ross. And because it's very forgiving, it appears by serendipity that occasionally he's doing some sort of solo, albeit like in several keys at once, you know. And he's rocking around like that. He loves rocking around. So and I'm sort of, and I've realized that, and I don't do that much musically now. I mean, I do, but not that actively. But then when we rock out at the end, I just love chugging along the 12 bar just for that. I mean, I love all sorts of music. And I get into it. And I've got him to sing. He sings in a, I am going on now, I'm sorry, but I think it's relevant. He sings in a gospel choir. And they carry him and he dresses up in his most unique, I'll put it that way, costumes. And he's so into it, but he just sways along and sort of lip syncs kind of half the time. And so I've got him to sing here. And what I do is I sing along quietly so as not to, because I sing, I say normally, usually, I sort of sing quieter so that he can then go over, even though it's not in tune much. And his sister said, Ross has really changed since he's come to see you. I'm not bigging myself up. My point is, it took me months and months, literally, my wife will tell you, because I used to moan after Ross had been here. He said, why can't you just accept him? It's not him, it's just I've got these fixed ideas. And so back to the point of lessons and that, lessons. Yeah, a lot. And I won't give any other musical ones, but most of them have been to do with music. And my idea, and my voice was another one, as Vince knows. He wrote a story relating to that, which actually did shift something. It was kind of like, not a final thing, but yeah, I kind of got over myself. Story. Right, that's it.
That was a good story. I love that. Yeah.
Okay.
And you have to really enjoy him enjoying himself. Hey, that's
it, exactly it. And I guess like Jeb with the old dears and blokes, because I used to do the same thing as you're doing, but at the time I wasn't where I am now, and I stopped after a while. But it was rewarding even so, and just chatting to them in between, like having a cup of tea. What you done? You know, it was great.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, music has a absolutely special place for people with dementia. They can be lost as to who they are and whatever, and you can take them right back to a specific memory with a song. You know, it shows the way our human brain works. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard from a music therapist recently that the music center, if there is such a thing in the brain, doesn't deteriorate in dementia. I didn't
That's
realize it was quite
encouraging.
as clear as that. Yeah.
There's hope for you, yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't you say you were into music, Tammy? Or am I imagining things again?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
yeah, I have yeah, I have a degree in music education, and I started out with piano and conducting choirs.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
And right now, I stopped teaching piano in COVID when you couldn't go to people's houses. And I just started conducting an old lady choir again after I hadn't conducted for over a decade. And what you say, Jed, rings true a lot, because what is my music? I sing to my babies, my nephews, and I sing with my old ladies. And I just took my old ladies. They are together because they want to do charity. They want to do loving kindness and go sing for even older ladies. So we sometimes go to old age homes, and my 70-year-old ladies we were just clapping and holding hands with 90-year-old old ladies. It was just but who would have thought that I would, conduct old lady choirs and love it. And And I get to be like a stand-up comedian, and I love it. I have a totally straight face, and usually my jokes go totally unnoticed by most people, but I don't even let on that I've made a joke and they'll laugh. Like they're smart, they're with it, they're life worn, they're just so lovely. And it's just they respond. You would think they're old. They respond to my conducting. I tell them little things about how to improve their tone or how to listen or whatever, and it brings almost tears to my eyes. They listen so well, and it jumps up a level. And I love doing that because most people don't do that with older people. They do it with kids. They think it's worth investing in a child. But I care about them even whatever their age. I don't care. You're with me. We're going to improve. Your teeth are falling out. Hold them in. Open your mouth. Let's go. Like I'm literally take your thumb. And so no one should be embarrassed. Everyone take your thumb, hold in your dentures and open wide. We're going to, but yeah, it's so much joy. And even when I do other things, like my whole life I've gotten my family together. I like write out parts for different instruments, or we've done stuff for like people's birthdays. And then one of the highlights was I got to play at my brother's wedding, and there was like the largest thing I've ever done with like 350 people there, whatever. And we did something the bride would like, and she likes Disney songs. And then I write like classical arrangements for that and write out for, there's
Wow.
a trumpet and a saxophone. And it's all different keys and all different whatever. And it fries my brain. And then getting them all to practice is like herding cats. But those moments where like, and I write words about the person, and it's just so filled with love. And those moments where everyone's just quiet and with the same intention and just listening to the beauty of the music, and like then everyone goes back to chatter and fighting and noise and food. But like for those few moments where everyone's silent and just focused together on the beauty and being uplifted, it's like it's worth like 3 months of heartache. Although I don't do it as much now. Like my grandparents have passed and there's not as much family stuff. But it's just, to me, those were the most heartwarming moments at any like event. Or I hate these family gather. I hate large events and people, and it's harrowing to me. But those moments just make it like there's love and togetherness and heartfelt, and yeah. And sometimes it's the most with the older people because they're open, they're appreciative, they're loving, and you just, it's about bringing love and joy, right? That's what it is. And yeah, when I have these dreams of like, I then taught myself cello 10 years ago and joined the university orchestra. And I wasn't good enough to do it, but I faked it and I made it. And it was the most extraordinary experience to be able to be there in that orchestra and like actually hear the live instrument. As a pianist, you're alone, you accompany, but to be sitting in a room full of 30 musicians in a hot room with no windows and just like those sounds. And I'm one of those lines, there's only a few cellos usually. It was just what an experience. And there's dreams of like, and then I played with a trio for a year with my aunt, and there was a Japanese woman who came in and was living here, so we played, the three of us, for a year, and it was just exquisite. Every rehearsal was like a treat. But there's dreams of, can we perform more? And we performed once at the community center at my birthday for 15 people. But there's dreams of like, should I start something? Should I start a YouTube? Can I perform more? And I know I'm not really great, but I can bring together great people, and I know how to orchestrate it so that it sounds beautiful no matter the level. Like that's my thing. Like I can, and I just, but it's, yeah, those things are also great, but it's more about, for me, about the connection and the love and bringing in the audience and just the vibe in the room. But yeah, that happens less and less. So it's very sad for me, the dying out of those things. And I sometimes wonder how much to fight for it. But yeah, in other words, there's a lot of tension and competition involved in some realms of music, but I'm hearing just what we're sharing here in common, I think, is that heartfelt and that joy and love and upliftment, and the music is just part of that. Anyway, love you
Yeah.
guys.
You guys make me want to get my ukulele out of the corner and dust it off and get back into it. Yeah. And there's a
Mm.
Do it.
bunch of about 30 old buggers sitting around on a Saturday morning playing the ukulele, sounding like cats on a wall, but everybody having a lot of fun. Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah,
Uh,
ukuleles are great. Yeah.
I I just love hearing you guys talk about this. It's so good. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, it's interesting. We've all got such a commonality in this, working with old people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Community music. It's funny that they call it community music. I mean, for millennia, that's the only kind of music there was. I think it was just a community thing, and it wasn't like a specialism. It wasn't a
Mm-hmm.
performance.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
maybe it's to do with capitalism. Who knows? But it's so alluring now. The idea of being great and getting
Mm.
to somewhere, and
Mm.
but
Mm.
Yeah. I had this.
when we do the just having a nice time together with music, that's the joy, isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah.
I've got a story that I believe that by nature, not only does our body want to heal itself, that's just a natural thing at a fundamental level, but that we also are creative. We want to express creativity. We
Mm.
want to discover things. And when we play music, we're discovering things all the time. Yeah.
Mm,
So how good is that? Being creative, being expressive, discovering. Fantastic.
mm.
Oh, one of the great joys of life.
Mm.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter how
And the
good we are,
co-create.
not at all.
Mm,
I mean, you can imagine those famous musicians who are still playing the same songs that they wrote 40 years ago, and how many times have they been around that same circuit? They've played that song thousands of times, and you wonder, are they varying it? Are they playing around with it, or are they just doing the same old thing over and over and over again? It's like, it's really interesting.
mm,
But I can imagine. I mean, I haven't played the ukulele for a couple of years now. I sold them all except one. I kept my original one because I might go back to it. And now that my hand is okay, I've got no excuse not to go back to it. Except I'm pretty busy. But anyway, um, but I could play the same series of chords over and over and over, and every single time it was a discovery. Every single time it was learning something. It was,
Mm.
I did it better or not as good as, and so there was a whole lot of things involved in it. Simple, really simple stuff. Just
mm,
playing C D E C D E E D C, whatever. Yeah.
Well, now I have a story, Vince, that forget this ChatGPT stuff. You're going to be singing and playing the ukulele on your next songs. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
We would love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have an old lady that I've been working with for over a decade, and now she's kind of getting old and dementia. And like, I'm not working with her so much in the last few months, but I helped her put out her books, self-publish her books on Amazon, and we made her a website. And now we started to record her reading her books, because when I read it, it's like, she's like this spiritual woman, and I'm like, God loves you, da da da, and she's like, God loves you. She's French, so it sounds completely different, and I'm like, I'm this American, at heart, and she's like this from Switzerland and came by America, and now she's this delicate soul, and like the way she says it, like, oh, that's what it means. I'm like, you must record it in your voice, because when I read it to myself, it sounds very different. And yeah, so Vince, we're waiting on you.
Mm,
No pressure.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm about to announce the fourth book of stories, so that's kind of
Ooh.
comes up to 200 stories so far, and I'm about
wow.
5 or 6 stories into the fifth book. But I had thought about publishing them on Amazon. I thought maybe they'd be useful to somebody,
Mm.
but I haven't done anything about it. I'm a bit overwhelmed with the idea of actually publishing it. But yeah, even just as an ebook. But I might. Yeah. Reading them, yeah, I hadn't thought of that. I did think recently another genre that I haven't done is poetry. and that might be some value. I used to love haiku. I did a lot of haiku at one stage, but they're a bit short and quick, but not so story-like, you know. Although they can be, but I think a lot of people probably don't appreciate them. But yeah, poetry is the stories, and jokes are another one I thought of, but that's much harder. That one, yeah.
I was listening to one of your old meetings, Vince, and you said something like poets, they're the people who see the detail in experience. You know, they kind of drop down below the level of story and label, and they really see what's going on. And then they evoke it with words. They can't quite describe it, but they evoke it. I thought that was a lovely insight into poetry that I hadn't quite got before. Yeah, so I'm just thinking of that as you're talking about poetry.
Yeah, it grabs me that. And what's exciting about it is that creativity. It's so good to be creative. Yeah. Expressive creativity. Yeah.
Yeah, my got an old Indian ex monk guy I work with, and he says that his spiritual practice is reading poetry, and I had somebody else say that, and I that was new to me. This is this year, and so he lent me a book of poems by Hafiz. You might have come across, and now I get it. You know, I just read one or two poems while I'm sitting on the loo, and it does just make me go, ah, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it really brings me out of the mind and into something wonderful.
Yeah. Evocative. Yeah.
Yeah.
Provocative or evocative or both. Yeah.
Yeah. Can be both. Right, I better go. Nice to see y'all.
Yeah,
All
nice
right.
to talk.
Thank you, Jed.
Thanks.
Have a
Bye.
good day. See you soon. Bye.
Cheers.
All right, Vince, homework for the panic rising. I'm feeling it rising. Tell me something before we go.
Write a poem about it.
I was going to say, sing yourself a song about it.
Yeah. Isn't
Or,
isn't isn't a song poetry with music? Yeah.
hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
This has been a really, I mean, I've said this before, this has been a really good meeting, but the subject matter at the end, the way that it's panned out has inspired me. I mean, I am more involved with music now than there was quite a lull while I just wasn't inspired, you know, just the way I was at the time. And I've been asking myself, not what's next, because that's the future, but what's floating there. And I think it is something to do with music and maybe singing as well. But it's just I don't know that. I'm not, you know, I pushed so much stuff in the past. I'm wary of it. You know, I'm sort of, oh yeah, that sounds like a good idea, and it, you know, they fall flat. But I'm sort of feeling into that, and and what's behind it, which is what we've been talking about today, the essence, and what you were saying, Tammy, about, and Jed touched on it, is joining with others in it. It's not so easy now. It seems like, you know, it's easy to do a song, for example, in isolation. You can write one, you can record stuff on your own. And it's also finding people, they don't have to be on the same wavelength. It's not like, but if you're going to work with them, it maybe does. But if there's a group, they can, and it's just singing, that transcends personality and stuff. You don't have to get on and have a chit chat afterwards over a cup of tea or something, because it just transcends all that, doesn't it? You know.
Mm.
But even though this is all a dream and bodies and everything a dream, there is something about having other physical bodies in situ with you, whether that's made up stuff or not, doesn't seem to matter. At some level, it is therapeutic when you're engaging in that sort of thing.
Yep. Well, I flashed on something earlier that I've seen happen, and there was, I can hardly describe it, but somebody organised people from all over the world to each do a part of a production, and then they put it all together, and then the final production was the result of about 30 people all doing their own little bits and pieces, and somebody actually put it together, and it was brilliant. It was really, really good, you know, and I can see the value in that.
Do you know
I didn't think to do anything about it. Yeah.
Do you know what style of music was it? It was. What style? Did you listen to it? Obviously you did, but
No.
you read about it.
No, I saw things. Maybe I saw it on television. It was a while ago. Well, I'll ask Dr. Google to see if he can come up with what it is.
There was a modern classical composer called, I think it's Eric Whittaker, and he did that with one of his. They're mainly sort of modern, not hymns, but spiritually oriented stuff. And I think he probably did it in one of the lockdowns. And it's amazing. And he filmed it like he had people, you know, in the little Zoom boxes, but well produced.
Yeah.
It was
might
amazing.
have been the same one, yeah.
Yeah, Eric Whittaker, blonde guy, composer, conductor, yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's still the slight disjointedness of getting it all together. But if you look at it, you're still joining. I mean, in that case, you're not got the 3D body in situ, but there's still this joining that's behind it, isn't it? Really.
And there's that interaction that goes on, and so on and so on.
Exactly. Yeah. Sense of community or communing, even communing, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, but I'm inspired to do some poetry. That's
great.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. Well, all right, folks. This seems like a moment where we could wind up for the night.
Yeah, great. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah.
So much.
Thank you for being you, Tammy.
Yeah.
Oh. I sometimes hate that I'm me, but thank you.
Okay.
You gotta love that hate.
With you guys.
Well, not got to. All right. See you soon. Bye.
Thank you.